Hello from VIR, the site of Round 5 of the GT America, powered by AWS Championship, Race 1 of the weekend. About to get underway, slightly delayed. There was a serious accident just before this race in our TC America race. One driver has been taken for further examination. That is the extent of the information that we have to pass along at this time, and we will share more details when they become available to us. But with that said, let's focus on the task at hand. My name is Ryan Marine. Calvin Fish joins me in the booth. We'll be hearing from Amanda Busick in just a few moments. This is the new GT America powered by AWS Series. It is a single driver sprint race format with a nice mix of GT3 and GT4 cars, joined by a couple of invitational cars. If you remember the Saleen Cup from a couple of years ago, two of the Saleen 1 Cup cars have joined the field here this weekend with a couple of newcomers, Zoe Edenholm and Dominic Starkweather. We'll talk more about that in a moment, but a great story up in the front row, Calvin. Two great stories, actually. Charlie Luck, part of the Masters division, but very much in the contention for the overall championship as far as GT3 goes, and alongside Brendan E. Reeb from the Inception Racing team that went through Herculean tasks just to try and have a car ready for this race.
Absolutely. Charlie Luck, a great performance this morning, putting that Porsche on the pole. It's his local track, so he knows it well. He had 3 wins in the Masters division, but more importantly, I think he sits only 5 points back of our championship overall leader, George Kurtz. So with George right behind him, third on the grid, chance for Charlie to maybe grab that lead here this evening. And alongside him, Brendan Reeb. Certainly been an eventful week, let's put it that way, for him. Had a big off on Thursday in a practice session, had to resource a different car from Canada from the MIA team that arrived here late yesterday, middle of the afternoon. The team turned it around, got it race ready, and he planted that car on the front row. So he's coming off a victory at Coda. Should certainly be a threat for the win here this afternoon as well. Pole
for GT4 belongs to Sean Quinlan, by the way, from Stephen Cameron Racing. More on the pre-race storylines in a moment, but first let's take a tour of this 3.27-mile VIR circuit with our Porsche track preview.
Hi, my name is Jan Halen, driving for Wright Motorsports here at Virginia International Raceway, and this is the Porsche track preview. As we come onto the front straightaway, ready to start this lap. Front straight, passing start finish here, 6th gear, hard into the brakes at the 3 sign, down the 2nd gear. Big rotation here using just a little bit of that inside curbing. Back to power, and then onto turn 3, double left-hander. Really tricky corner here on the way in. Lifting a small tap on the brake and then using all that exit curb here on the outside. Hard onto the brake, 2nd gear into turn 4. Short shift up to 3rd. Turn 5, and then just barely lifting here into turn 6 onto the lower S's. And then a good stretch here. And ready for the famous S's here at Virginia International Raceway. Starting right here at the bottom. Super fun section of the track in these GT3Rs. All flat out, all the way to the top of the hill. Quick stab on the brake, 5th gear. Very fast section of the track. Then into Oak Tree, down the 2nd gear. Big rotation, getting ready for a good exit. And then back onto the back straightaway. Long straightaway, good opportunity here to overtake into turn 14. Lots of slipstreaming going on. Virginia is a track that really rubbers in, so as the weekend goes on, as long as you don't get too much rain, lots of rubber going down, which makes the track even better. Hard on the brakes here, right at the 50 sign, deep into the brake zone. Down turn 15, and then ready for the roller coaster. Almost flat going over this first curb, down 1 gear, and then onto the front straightaway. And that was 1 lap here at Virginia International Raceway.
Jan Halen, a master of his craft. He has taken us on the tour, the Porsche track preview of VIR. Great field of GT4 cars to talk about as well. Mentioned Sean Quinlan starting on pole in his BMW. He'll have the Rintec driver Chris Cognazi starting alongside. Then Alex Welch, a great qualifying effort for the ROTR Motorsport driver, with Jason Bell starting to his outside. You look up and down this field, Calvin, and plenty of quality drivers in the field. And I think one thing that makes GT America very interesting and relatively unique within the SRO America umbrella is you do have multi-class racing.
Yeah, and that certainly throws a bit of a curveball with the. It's only a 40-minute race, so you shouldn't get into too much lap traffic, but it could be a consideration as we get deep into this race here today. Sean Quinlan, as you said, on the pole here in GT4. It's his championship lead. He's trying to defend. He's actually tied with Rob Holland, who qualified down in 10th, so I'm not sure what happened with Rob this morning, but he's got a lot of work to do to try and chase up with the joint leader in the championship. And Sean Quinlan just seems to go from strength to strength on the back of that 2019 championship with Stephen Cameron Racing and Greg Leafuge.
Yeah, those two together in Pirelli GT4 America competition earlier today had a nice run, and now driving solo. We'll see what Sean Quinlan could do from pole in this one. You mentioned Rob Holland starting all the way back in 10th, and he was second in race 1 of the season at Sonoma, was the winner in race 2, then had a 4th and a 5th at Circuit of the Americas, but he's going to have to stand on it to try and make his way up through this competitive field of GT4 cars today.
Yeah, but there are some overtaking opportunities. That's what I love about this racetrack. It's very challenging, but there are some genuine overtaking opportunities, and then there's some that you can kind of elbow your way through as well. So people are getting more innovative with those passing zones as life goes on, it seems. Every year there's a new one evolving.
As the second formation lap continues, let's get more from the pit lane with Amanda Busick.
Well, Ryan, one of the big stories all weekend has been that McLaren 720S of Inception Racing. It went out on Thursday, and not even 25 hours later, they had a brand new McLaren here on site to drive here. Well, Brendan had some mishaps in the GT World Challenge race, had a pit mistake. He was so moved and upset with himself, he even went over and apologized to his competitors. I talked to Ollie Milroy ahead of this race, so Brendan is excited to get back in this McLaren because he doesn't have much experience from the start of the race. Typically in G2 World Challenge, he's starting back of the pack, so he's looking forward to knock some more experience on his belt, getting some front row experience.
Great story. Thank you for that update. Uh-oh, this is one of the invitational cars, one of the Saleen Cup cars that's off to the side. I think that's Dominic Starkweather, the better qualified of the two. Does seem to be back up and running again, but we'll have to keep an eye on that as the field heads down Madison Avenue behind the Lamborghini Urus safety car. Lights are off, so we will be going green this time by, but certainly interesting to hear that update on the Brendan Iribe car. Charlie Luck will start alongside, not in the same classes, but very much competing for the overall championship. It's been a great season to this point from Charlie Luck, and he leads this field here at the front of the field. We do have one update for you on the TC America crash that delayed the start of this race. And quickly, the driver in question conscious and communicating, but has been transported to a hospital for further evaluation. More details will become available, but that is very good to hear. It was a scary moment. Now, though, the start of the GT America powered by AWS. Race 1 of the weekend. Charlie Luck on pole, alongside Brendan Iribe. Then you've got George Kurtz and Jason Daskalos alongside. What a great jump there by Charlie Luck. He's off and running. Iribe will slot into second. The battle, though, is on in the GT4 field.
Yeah, Charlie really controlled that very nicely. Got that Porsche into its sweet spot and just took off here and clears the field down into turn 1. Brendan Iribe just tucks inside of George Kurtz there for the second position.
Great start there from the front of the field, but look at them fanning out there into the horseshoe for the first time. The GT3 cars have settled themselves out, but not so much a little bit further back.
Yeah, Sean Quinlan leads the GT4 brigade. I think it's Cagnazzi who started second, still lining up there in second. Alex Wells with his new rotor team. Very bullish about their opportunities moving forward. Likes the crew that he's put together.
Yeah, nice qualifying effort from him. That's for sure. Got a shot of the not lap racing by RS1. Aston Martin a little bit further back. Great to have Matt Dalton back. Had a really rough weekend at Circuit of the Americas. 2 big crashes there. But more on that story as the race progresses. Charlie Luck making good his escape. But now Brendan Iribe pressured here from George Kurtz. George Kurtz and Colin Brown already raced today from DXDT Racing. Had a nice run in the GT World Challenge America race. But George in his other car doing double duty as he has all season long, and that extra track time has helped. But look at the legs that the McLaren has on the Mercedes down the straightaway.
Yeah, we've seen that a little bit today where the Mercedes is good on the lap, but seems to struggle on the second part of the 2 straightaways here, down into turn 14, and certainly the front stretch as well. Nice start here for Jason Daskalos from the second row. Lines up in 4th position, and Jeff Burton hanging on as well.
is a homegrown team for Jason Daskalos, but he has enlisted some help this weekend. Longtime entrant in the series, Nick Short. You might remember CRP Racing. They had the DeVilbiss Mercedes for many years, and it goes much further back than that. But he's been brought in to help this program, running some of the operations out of his North Carolina shop. And that's the 27 Audi of Jason Daskalos with a little bit of extra assistance, and that car will go to the CRP shop following this race as they prepare it for the next round of the championship, which for GT America will be in Nashville on the street circuit.
Well, certainly for Nick Short, he knows this racetrack very well, so he should have a good notebook to work from. He's worked with Jason before when they were running the Nissan in a similar form of competition. So good chemistry there.
This is a battle further back. It looks like Kyle Washington in the Porsche. He's got CJ Moses chasing him. That's for the 7th spot overall. Then we get to our leader in GT4. It is the pole sitter, Sean Quinlan. Great start from Chris Cagnazzi. He second. No, that would actually be Jason Bell, rather. Makes the jump up into the 3rd spot off the start, dropping Welch 1 position. And look at Rob Holland, one of those in the championship hunt, up 3 spots on the opening lap. He now runs 7th in class.
Yeah, that's a bit more like it. We expected to see him near the sharp end, certainly in the top 5. So must have had some drama in qualifying this morning. Didn't put a lap together, so he's on the charge here a little bit.
Should mention as well, unable to make the start today, Christopher Gumprecht, unfortunately, out of the Rintec stable, which is fielding a couple of cars, including that bright yellow and blue one that you see there on the screen. An accident earlier in the week has ruled out Gumprecht and his car, so we hope to see him at the next round. As Jason Bell right now on the attack list, Cagnazzi, as mentioned, from the Rintec stable just in front of him.
Jason Bell absolutely loves this Aston Martin, feels very confident in it. He was a busy boy last year, sometimes running 7-8 races a weekend. Has calmed down a little bit for him this weekend, but he did share some exciting news. He may be looking at entertaining another class here before the season's out, so it could get busier again for him. But team with Andrew Davis, great to have Andrew on the radio, I'm sure, just talking him through this race, how to attack it, when it's go time, and what to do here behind the wheel of the number 2 GMG machine.
Back to the GT3 fight. Charlie Luck under attack. Brendan E. Reeb maybe didn't get the best start, but he is starting to gain some confidence once again. Took a peek to the inside there in NASCAR Bend and tucks back into line for left hook. And now up through 5A, 6, and 6A, the section known as Snake.
Yeah, when you're learning a racetrack, you're learning the lines, learning to get lap speed, and then you've got to learn how to race here. And I think Brendan stuck his nose in somewhere where it probably wasn't going to work. He now works to get alongside here as you start the climbing S's. Using a little bit of those curbs up through there. This is where it came adrift for Brendan a couple of days ago. Just dropped the wheel on the exit at 10 and spit at hard left right here. And had the damage to his primary race car and had to source this secondary backup car this weekend.
Turn 11 feeding into the famous Turn 12, long known as Oak Tree, and it retains that name despite the fact that the massive oak tree that for many years stood sentinel over the apex of turn number 12 is no longer here. Son of Oak Tree planted on the outside of the track. Looks like a nice jump out of that hairpin down to the long back straightaway known as Madison Avenue for Charlie Luck as we drop further back. And Daskalos right here in the midst of this fight. He's trying to run down George Kurtz, and he's got Jeff Burton sitting behind him.
Yeah, top 5 there with the GT3 machinery, all running fast laps within half a second of each other, so it's very competitive at the front. Here we see that battle for second. Once again, Cagnazzi trying to hang on as Jason Bell gets a bit of a draft here down Madison Avenue.
Jason Bell in the white Aston Martin. It is Cagnazzi in the yellow and blue Mercedes just out in front. Jason Bell gets to the bumper. I'm going to get closer than that. Can't get any closer than that. Sitting right behind here through the roller coaster section and up into Hog Pen.
What's cool is to think about who's on the radio headsets here today. You got Sean Quinlan up front. We assume that Greg Leofouche is on the headset to him. You got Cagnazzi. He's got Guy Cosmo working with him. We talked about Andrew Davis with Jason Bell. So the guys on the sidelines could have a pretty good race by themselves, I feel.
That's a great point. And in many cases, those are the co-drivers in Pirelli GT4 America competition. And one of the great things about this new GT America series is it gives extra track time for those that seek it, not just for Pirelli GT4 America competitors, but we're seeing that as well for GT World Challenge America teams and drivers trying to pull double duty, usually with 2 separate chassis. It is a tough ask to try and press the same one into service for both of these races, but in the case of Brendan E. Reeb, he's showing it can be done.
It certainly can, but I'm so impressed with Charlie Luck to be holding off a pretty stout field of cars here today, like he's doing, putting the car on the pole and seemingly pretty comfortable sitting out front and defending that top position right now.
3 wins on the season, all in Masters class competition. Has had some nice runs in the overall, and that's why he's in the mix for an overall championship in GT America this year. Had a runner-up finish in Coda 1 as far as the Masters class is concerned, and right now doing his best to keep Uribe behind. Not a Masters class runner. Jeff Burton, however, is. That is this chasing Lamborghini that's running down Jason Daskelos. It is a hot day, no question about it, here at VIR. Safe to say Jeff Burton had an exceptionally hot day earlier because he was involved in the GT World Challenge America race. Separate Lamborghini chassis. They had what appeared to be a fuel leak, and that led to a fire at the back of his other car, and he had to hop out of that car post-haste.
He did seem to be arrested in terms of the fire pretty quickly, so hopefully not too much damage and will affect their participation here tomorrow. But it's a tough task doing, you had a 45-minute stint, close to that for him this afternoon, and then in these conditions, 90 degrees ambient, his cockpit temperatures are going to be way up there in these sort of conditions. So he's fit as a fiddle, though, for his age. I mean, he's really a tough competitor.
Yeah, no question about it. Jeff Burton making that step up from GT4 to GT3 this year, and GT America provides him an opportunity to get extra seat time and help ease that transition.
Reed keeping the heat on here. Good little battles going on throughout this field.
And don't sleep on George Kurtz. He's been watching these two slug it out, and here we go. Insert a third car into that equation. Meanwhile, behind, Daskelos continues to hold off and not succumb to the pressure from Jeff Burton. Down the back straightaway one more time.
I think the other great thing is not only extra track time for George Kurtz. I think with the DXDT team, they're certainly struggling a little bit to really find the sweet spot on their chassis. Another opportunity for their engineering squad to really throw something else at the race car. Learn a little bit here with George in this sprint race format, what they can then apply to the race here tomorrow for GT World Challenge.
Update on the GT4 running order. Sean Quinlan still leads. His lead up to 2.5 seconds over Chris Cognazzi, who runs right there at the lead of this train, but he's got company because here comes Jason Bell, here comes Alex Welch, and Ross Schwest from the Rimtech team. He's in this picture as well in that black and maroon Mercedes at the back of the train.
Yeah, Schwest has been really impressive watching him this year. He's got Aaron Povolito that he drives with in Sprint X competition, who's a great coach and mentor. Been working with him for a number of years. And he said that Ross is just really coming on strong. Got a great team there with Rentec. They're ticking all of the boxes. They're getting the results, coming off a couple of Sprint X podiums at Circuit of the Americas.
We chronicled Rob Holland's rise up 3 spots on the opening lap, but he is stalled out in 7th, right now running a half second behind Adam Adelson, who himself is 2.5 seconds back behind this battle. That's Adelson. Then you see just in the background Holland coming through. So Holland needs to make that pass if he's going to try and run down this quartet that currently holds down 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Adelson in the Porsche, right behind Holland in the Mustang, and a big move up the inside. I think that's Gray Newell. Indeed it is, in the heart of racing, Aston Martin, fighting with Matt Dalton. And I started telling that story. 2 big crashes at Circuit of the Americas. One Aston Martin chassis totally written off after one of those, but his co-driver and coach from GT4 America competition, Patrick Gallagher, told me a couple days after that accident, gave him a call and said, yep, ready to go, can't wait to get back. And in fact, even before they had left COTA, they had ordered a brand new Aston Martin. It arrived here this weekend. It was waiting for them when they showed up at the track. Wasn't quite ready to be turned into a race car immediately, so it's up in the trailer for the moment, but they plan on being back to 2 chassis, one specifically for GT America, one for Pirelli GT4 America, starting the next time both series are in the same place at the same time at Road America.
Pat Gallagher, I'm sure he's a little bit nervous because that's this car that we're looking at. He should be starting from pole position tomorrow, so he needs Matt to keep it clean. But I had a nice chat with Matt and Patrick yesterday, so they're very much on the move. As we see, a battle for the lead has changed, so Uribe has gotten around Charlie Lucker to grab the lead overall and in GT3.
Yeah, that is, again, not a class position change, although if Charlie Luck is indeed concerning himself with the overall points battle, then it does matter from that perspective, and this is how Uribe got the job done.
Yeah, down in the dirt. It was a late move down to the inside, pretty bold, but he made it stick. Charlie saw him coming. Good awareness from Charlie, good racecraft in terms of just opening up his hands a little bit, giving him some racing room, so no touch there, and Brendan did well to get away with that.
Well, Amanda told the story earlier about how frustrated Brendan Uribe was with how his race in GT World Challenge America went earlier today, and best way to put that behind you is to get right back in the race car and have another go at it. And I think he's got to be all smiles behind the wheel of that McLaren right now after a move like that, and sitting out in front with the overall lead, very similar to what he did in his debut weekend in the championship back at Circuit of the Americas.
Yeah, he's a serious competitor. He's been very successful in the business world and now is really turning his attention to his passion for racing. I haven't had a lengthy chat with him, but the time I spent with him, he said, listen, I'm going to give it a good couple of years here, try and race as much as I can, see how fast I can climb the learning curve here, and then see where we sit. He may be digging back into the business world, who knows, but in the meantime, he's very serious about this racing program.
Yeah, he is doing a nice job out in front. It's amazing, as an American, you'd think, well, surely he's got some experience at American tracks, but basically all of his racing has been done overseas in events like the Gulf 12 Hours in the Middle East, or racing in International GT Open, a GT3 series in Europe back last year. Did a little bit of racing with the Michelin Le Mans Cup and British GT. And then this year, just a huge program with Asian Le Mans, GT World Challenge Europe, GT World Challenge America, GT America, some races back in the winter in the Middle East. I mean, it's a massive list, and he's got an entry for the 24 Hours of Le Mans as well, based on his results in the Asian Le Mans series this year. So, huge program for Brendan Uribe, and really showing what he's made out of here on this weekend.
Jeff Burton here having a look inside Daskalos as you start to get towards the climbing S's. What a section of racetrack this is. Beautiful ribbon, just winds itself up through this countryside. Nothing else like it.
On the top speeds, our race vision powered by AWS. Overall top speeds, Brendan Uribe fastest on that list, 164 miles per hour. That is fast.
You are hauling the mail around this racetrack, and that's if it goes wrong and can have dire consequences. But that's why drivers love it. They love the edginess. They love the aspect of keeping it all together here on what we call an old school racetrack.
So we did see the Dominic Starkweather Celine S1 come to a stop earlier. Does not look like he's been able to turn a lap. Zoe Edenholm in the sister car has dropped a lap, and I'm not clear on whether or not that car is currently on track or not. Looks like Jason Harward has had some kind of an issue. Joining the GT3 runners for SRO Motorsports. He's listed as in the pits as we've got a challenge for the lead once again. Charlie Luck's not done.
No, I think maybe Uribe may have had an issue getting on the front straightaway. Charlie deep down in the inside, there's a touch, and I think Kurtz is going to slide through the inside of both of them there. So just where Charlie gave a little bit of racing room, Brendan was reluctant to do that. Obvious contact there, and slowed them enough for George Kurtz to take advantage, our championship leader. But Charlie's back at him. George did not get a good run through turn 3 there. A little bit of argy-bargy again to take the lead. Charlie Luck is up on the wheel.
Oh, this is fantastic. Thank you, pardon me, coming through. Elbows out here in the front of the field, and that has brought Jason Daskalos into the mix. Jeff Burton into the mix as well. Look how much of a gap Charlie Luck has built. I wonder if something is wrong with George Kurtz's car after some of that side-to-side contact. We're getting reports that maybe a tire going down after that contact. That would make some sense. Look at that left front.
Yeah, I think it may be the left front. This causing a big stack up. Look at this. Daskalos has gotten to the back of Uribe there, roughing him up as everyone concertinaed behind George Kurtz there. It's allowed Charlie Luck just to take off with this lead.
Now, the teams have got to get on the radio to let these guys know there's a problem on George Kurtz's car. To try and be a little bit patient. It's going to be 3 wide, though, down Madison Avenue. Looks like Uribe makes it clear past. Now a slipstream situation for Burton. He and Daskalos go side by side, crossing each other over back and forth down the back straightaway. Here we go into the roller coaster. Buckle up.
All this done at about 165 miles an hour approach speed. Little touch there. Burton's off for a ride. Daskalos just roughs him up enough to just give him that chrome horn and turn him through the infield there.
Looked like he hit him pretty square. I thought maybe Jeff would be able to hold on. He resumes just in front of Zoe Edenholm in that Celine Invitational car. And there you see George Kurtz making the hard right turn down the pit lane at VIR. These GT3 cars, they've got the little dive planes on the front, a bunch of other aero pieces sticking out, side skirts as well, all capable of cutting down a tire when you have that side-by-side contact like that.
Yeah, they're like little razor blades, so if you start to get into one another, just luck of the draw, really, if you're going to get away with it.
Charlie Luck absolutely benefited from that one. 6.6 seconds now his lead over Brendan DeReeve, who is going to have to lower that head a little bit and get back to work. Nearly halfway through this race, he's got a big deficit to overcome, but he has the fastest lap of this race so far by about 0.3 of a second over Charlie Luck.
Well, I'm trying to really put this back into perspective. So if we think about the little bump there with Luck and DeReeve down into turn 1, George Kurtz went to the inside and then in the subsequent corners had an issue. So I didn't see contact between him and those two leaders, but maybe his left front, which would have been the left side as he was going through there, and then maybe that's why he was slow through turn 3 and Charlie took advantage of the situation.
I do think that they did come together, if memory serves, but ever so slightly, and it was, door-to-door, side-by-side contact, and the way I look at that, Robbins Racing, that's all's fair in that situation. Someone, though, seems to have had an issue and some debris on the track. A couple of cars have run over that. That's in the roller coaster section. I wonder where that came from. Jason Harwood has returned to the track. That's the mostly carbon fiber car, the Lamborghini that Charlie Luck has just made his way around. And full course yellow has been displayed at the start line. So, yeah, wave goodbye to that big lead, Charlie Luck. You're going to have to defend it from Brendan DeReeve once again.
Yes, and I don't think the safety car got out in time to pick up the leader, so this will take a bit of a process here to grab everyone.
Well, assuming it's just for that debris that we saw, it shouldn't take too long to address that situation, and hopefully next time by, the safety car can pick up the leaders.
Yeah, I was thinking that the damage to George Kurtz and the cut tire was when Charlie had another go at him and grabbed the lead on that side, but it just makes me think why he was slow through that sector.
Sure.
Could have been it was already going down.
Yeah, that would be sensible. That might explain where the debris came from. I think that's Adam Adelson, who pulls that car with some rear end damage back into the pits. One other person who definitely benefits from this is George Kurtz, because he did not lose a lap. Now, he's lost a lot of track position. He's effectively at the back of the GT3 field, running in 7th, but we know he's fast, and he has had a couple of drives this year. The first race at Sonoma that he won got a penalty for a start procedure infraction, had to drive through, and then drove all the way through the field, no yellows, and took the lead and ended up winning that race. So might see something similar. We know he's capable of that kind of heroics.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch. Hopefully we'll get the GT3 cars back together for the restart. He's got to slide his way through the GT4 field. It's not going to be doable, but
now we'll take a look and see where he is in the line. In the overall, last time they came across the line, it looks like the only car he has separating him from the other GT3 cars is your GT4 leader, Sean Quinlan.
So that wouldn't be too much of an issue.
Should not be. And again, there at the back, the white car with the pink, Zoe Edenholm driving that Celine from Scottsdale, Arizona. Interesting, we were talking about Cole Corallo some in our Pirelli GT4 America race. He also is from Scottsdale, Arizona. I talked to him earlier in the weekend. He said he and Zoe karted against one another many, many years back when they were really young. They're both still quite young, to be fair. And they couldn't quite believe they found themselves racing professionally in a GT race here this weekend at VIR. But Zoe's done a little bit of everything. She's done some F4, raced in F4 back in 2019, made 2 Celine Cup starts back in the finale at Las Vegas of that year. Last year, I think, was kind of a COVID year and didn't have a chance to do a whole lot except Robbie Gordon's Stadium Super Trucks. If you haven't seen these, you need to look them up. They go over jumps, they go bouncing around, I mean, it's a spectacle, to say the least. I'm not sure there's
I used
a
to
whole...
be teammates with Robbie Gordon, and he used to do that in the rental car on the way at the airport, so I know where he got the concept from.
Right. I'm not sure how much you could take from one of those stadium super trucks and apply it to one of these Saleen Cup cars, but she'll do what she can, and great to see this deal come together with this new EMG Motorsport team. Her father, we got Daskalos coming to pit lane. Interesting. Apparently also an incident in turn 14 currently under review from race control. So a few things going on behind the scenes. But her father, Eric Edenholm, and Eric Curran, longtime sports car driver himself, and was kind of foundational in the driver development program that the Saleen Cup was working on back in 2019. He's also part of this team, and haven't had a chance to chat with them yet about what their aspirations are, but good to see these cars back in competition.
Well, Eric was the development driver for the Saleen car as well, so he was involved in the very early stages with Steve and his whole organization.
So this is the Daskalos Audi, and if you're looking closely and you have a sharp eye, you'll notice this looks a little bit different than a GT3 Audi does nowadays, and that's because this is the older generation, the Ultra version of the Audi. And that's one of the things that GT America offers, is a chance for some of the older spec GT3 cars to have a new life. When really, to be competitive, you need to go to the Evo versions of this or that, or whatever the next best thing is from the GT3 manufacturers. There's a lot of these older GT3 cars still out there in private hands, and this is a chance for them to go racing once again. An update from Amanda in the pit lane on what George Kurtz was dealing with.
When Ryan, you've talked about George Kurtz's ability to go through traffic. Well, here's what happened that led to him pitting. We knew it was a left-right front tire issue. Here you can see the rim damage here. There's also a slit in the tire right here. Not exactly sure where the air leaked from. The team is worried about a little bit of suspension damage as well, but they have been looking at the time, and if there is a guy that can do this here today, they do believe it is their driver.
A lot of faith in that camp, that's for sure. Thanks, Amanda. Did we learn any more from taking a look at that rim and the tire itself?
Well, obviously contact with someone. I don't think that damage was done from the curb. Sometimes when the tire goes flat and you run over it, you'll chew up the edge of the rim itself, but that looked more like a flush hit. So again, I'm not sure if he got into the side of Luck or a Reed when he was trying to slice through for the lead there, or whether it was Luck was on the rebound coming back at him down into turn 4. But certainly some contact and sudden loss of pressure, sudden loss of pace, and that allowed Charlie Luck just to take off. But that's all for nothing now as we've got a restart here.
Yeah, looks that way. So, and also going back to our story about George Kurtz and where he stands in relative to the rest of the GT3 field, how much traffic he has to go to. There's also the Saleen Cup car in that mix too. But all things considered, when you have an issue like that, the yellow came at a very auspicious time for George, and only 2 out-of-class cars to make his way around before he can start making his way back up through the field. And the first car he'll catch is a team car in C.J. Moses.
Well, George supports the Mercedes Formula One team. Lewis Hamilton had a similar thing happen at a Grand Prix this year where he had a moment, and it was a yellow that got him back in the game and kept him on the lead lap. So maybe that vibe will come his way here today. But you know he's going to dig deep. I think this is really a test session for these guys, trying to really sharpen their tools for tomorrow.
Let's take a look at this again. I think this might help answer some of the questions. So this was Uribe who had taken the lead. Luck then tried to take it back. These two made contact, and here comes George Kurtz.
George Kurtz, and right there, he might have gotten to the side of Uribe, and I think from that point forward, certainly George had lost a bit of pace. He comes through turn 3, and if he's got a cut-down tire, very slow through there, that allows Charlie to get the big run. So I think the cut-down tire has already happened. It didn't happen right here. This is why I assumed initially that was where the hit was, but as you can see, that's more middle of the car. Yeah,
I think you're right. I think it was that initial move to the inside, and it was contact with Uribe as he just saw the C part in front of him and looked like he was going to be in the catbird seat. Unfortunately, that little bit of contact cut that tire down, and now he's on the back foot as the track staff continues to clean up the debris around this course. Hopefully, with 14 minutes left on the clock at the moment, we'll be able to go back to green very soon. But every second that ticks off that clock, that's one less opportunity, right, for George Kurtz to try and come back through this field.
Well, I think it's going to increase the urgency for everyone, particularly Brendan Uribe. He's going to be going for it. He got Burton there sitting in third. He's not afraid to get his elbows out as well. So should be some fireworks here at the start. And Kurtz has got a lot of work to do from 7th and overall 8th, I believe. So you got the Celine Cup car in there as well. So he's got a bit of work to do to get to the podium.
So let's see, sitting back there behind Iribe is Jeff Burton, and he has looked strong as well. We've got the Zelus car in the mix. That's the second car in line, but that car is a lap down. It's kind of an interesting story, though. That car is all carbon, and that's because it is a new car to the team, but it is not a new car. It actually has a great deal of history to it. This is an ex-Paul Miller racing car that won its class at the 24 Hours of Daytona last year that the Zelus team has purchased. They had planned to purchase the TR3 racing chassis that Ziad Gondor and Giacomo Altoe had run through the first 2 weekends of the season, but that team, I'm told, has potentially a customer that came to them, and they could have an additional program as soon as Road America, so they had to say, actually, we need to hold on to that. The Zelus guys wanted a second chassis because they're running both GT America as well as GT World Challenge America. So they were looking around, where can we get a car? And the Paul Miller Racing team evidently had one. What's interesting to me is that the 4 drivers that teamed up to win their class at Daytona that year are all here this weekend.
Right.
Madison Snow, who's Jason Harward's co-driver in GT World Challenge America. Corey Lewis. Let's see.
Andrea Caldarelli,
yes.
both running with K-Pax. And you got Brian Sellers
yes,
here on site coaching. So
thank you for bailing me
they
out
can have
there.
a little party, celebrate once again.
Yes, exactly so. Brian Sellers did tell me, did kind of pain him a little bit to see the car running again. He's got some affinity for it. But at least that team knows this is a car that's capable of winning. Something has set them back this day, however, because he has lost a couple of laps, actually, has Jason Harward, currently 8th in class, 17th overall. 11:30 on the clock as we come around to complete another lap. It looks like at least one more than behind the safety car. Lights remain on for the moment. Double yellows displayed at the start-finish line. Charlie Luck, Brendan Iribe, Jeff Burton, Kyle Washington, the top 4. Then C.J. Moses running in 5th. C.J. was scheduled to run the whole season in GT America this year, but couldn't make it to Sonoma because of some kidney stones. I don't know anybody else who knows anything about that.
It hurt.
That's what I hear.
It can hurt if you don't get rid of them quick enough.
Right. He was able to rejoin at Circuit of the Americas, but even then his race debut was delayed because you'll remember it was heavy rain for the first race of the weekend. CJ doesn't have a ton of seat time in a GT3 car, so he said, you know what, discretion's the better part of valor. Let's go racing in race 2 on Sunday, and that ultimately was his debut only 3 races later than he intended.
Yeah, and I think he looked at the big picture. I mean, obviously, taking the health issue aside, coming to a racetrack, didn't know the car that well, doesn't have a ton of experience in the rain. It's like, he's not doing it for a living. He's here to have a good time and make the right decisions to certainly represent his brand at the same time.
But this is a home track for CJ. He's raced here in club racing a lot. He's from Northern Virginia, the Gainesville, Virginia area, which is more or less, it's probably too much to say a suburb of Washington, D.C., but in that general region. And CJ has a lot of laps here. He's competed in major races here of the club racing variety, and this is a special one for him. And also, it's worth noting this is a weekend in which so much is being done to recognize the military. And CJ was is a former Air Force soldier, and I saw that he and his DXDT racing colleague, the touring car driver Kevin Bowen, they were doing a little bit of a Q&A for the VIR Kids Club earlier today. I saw a post about that on Twitter. Evidently, the questions coming from the kids were wide-ranging, everything from dinosaurs to race cars.
Imagine that.
Right.
They'll keep you on your toes, that's for sure.
No question, but definitely a man very passionate about his racing. C.J. Moses, we saw him do some GT4 racing. Last year he was in a touring car. This year the big step up into GT3, but he's kind of the guy that GT America is targeted for. Driver looking to build more experience with aspirations of racing in big-time GT3 series, but a good format to cut his teeth when you can run the full distance in these races, and you don't have to share the car with anyone.
I think it is. I think it's ticking a lot of boxes. It's extra seat time, track time for the drivers who are competing in other classes here this weekend, whether it's GT4 Sprint X or whether it's in the GT3 machinery here this weekend. So, and also for drivers just to enjoy solo driving. They want to maximize their seat time. They're just running this one class here this weekend and nothing else.
We know George Kurtz can't wait for the green flag to be displayed, and looks like we'll have another lap at least behind the safety car. But another driver I think that falls into that conversation would be Jason Bell, who currently sits second in the GT4 class, chasing Sean Quinlan. He's had a nice run. He's had a good run all season long. A third, a fourth, a second, a third. Still chasing that first win, though, of the year in GT America, and he's on the doorstep running second at the moment.
Yeah, and it's so close. I think he's getting frustrated. I think his driving is very poised, and he's doing a really nice, methodical job. But I think the closeness of that victory is what's really got him frazzled a little bit. We smiled about that from Coda, where he's so close to a big result there. But nonetheless, I mean, he's got a great team around him. James Sofonis does an awesome job for all of his customers with the GMG group. Andrew Davis is just as solid as a rock in terms of a co-driver and mentor, and keeping Jason focused. I think if you can channel all of the energy from Jason in the right direction, he's got a ton of ability behind the wheel, and if you can just channel that through a complete weekend, that will really return great results for you.
And we got a red flag displayed here, so that might be bringing this race to a close. But as we wait for official confirmation of that, I get the sense that the busier he is on a race weekend, the better he does. And last year we saw him running in multiple championships, sometimes, what was it, like 7 or 8 races on a weekend. And that seemed to bring the best out of Jason.
It did. I thought it was the wrong thing to do, and it turned out to be the best thing to do.
Yes.
Maybe just having him sit around all day with not much to do for 2 or 3 hours lets his mind wander, keep him behind the wheel of a race car, whatever it is, and keep him focused.
So it looks like the checkered flag also will be displayed this time around. Red flag, so whatever the issue was could not be repaired in time, and this race will come to a premature end. Charlie Luck picking up an overall victory. That will help in that pursuit of the overall championship. Masters class for drivers 50 and older. I'm sure he likes that, but there's something sweet about winning overall, and he's been close a couple of times this year.
Yeah, and it's going to give him the overall championship lead as well, with George not having the opportunity to bounce back from his 6th position in class right now.
So looks like Charlie Luck will be the winner overall and in the Masters class. Brendan Reeve with, I suppose you could say, the overall win, but with the way that the points are paid in this, if you're in the overall class and you finish second, even if the car ahead of you is out of class, you still get second place points. So Brendan Reeve, second place points today. Jeff Burton, third overall, but second in Masters. Then Kyle Washington and CJ Moses, a top 5 finish overall. Sean Quinlan, a win for him. And again, another driver that has come a long way over the last couple of seasons. One of the best amateur drivers, if you will, in GT4 machinery within this paddock.
Yep, it's a good field. Shame to see this one caught short. I did see a lorry go out there with a bunch of tyre bundles, so I'm not sure if there's some track repair that had to be affected we didn't have time to get it done today.
That is unfortunate, but it's the way things go. And that is, by the way, back to Sean Quinlan, the 3rd win on the season. That'll help him extend that points lead in the GT4 class that he had coming in here. 5-point advantage, I believe, as the weekend began. 54-year-old from Palo Alto, California, with the win in the GT4 class here in GT America, powered by AWS. Race 2 coming up tomorrow, and we'll talk more about that in a second. First, the highlights from the race today. Pole sitter Charlie Luck got a great jump. It was fairly anodyne at the front of the GT3 field, not so in GT4.
Yeah, as always, there's kind of funnel effect down into turn 1. A lot of side-by-side action. You've got to survive these first few corners and just try and get into your rhythm.
That's exactly what the leaders did. Charlie Luck built a nice lead, but Brendan Reeve was able to run him down. Great fight at the front of the field, provided plenty of highlights. In fact, here's one of them. Up the inside, Brendan Reeve, this was for the race lead.
Yeah, down into turn one, gets right down deep there in the brake zone and just drops a couple of wheels to the inside. Charlie did a good job there of opening up the door, and just a lap or two later, a little bit of argy-bargy this time, and this is a critical moment there. George Kurtz slides his way through. I think he clouts that left front tire, and that gave him issues a couple of corners later.
Looked like he was free and clear instead. Cut down one of the tires, falls back into the clutches of Charlie Luck, who's able to make his way through, bottles up some of the rest of the field behind. This is a good fight here from Jason Daskelos, Jeff Burton in the mix, Brendan Reeve right in front. Burton couldn't quite save that one after the contact from behind.
Yeah, it was marginal, but definitely a touch there and sent Jeff off the road.
And then we see the field coming back to the pit lane. Red flag conditions put it into this race a little bit early, but we look forward to trying it all again tomorrow. Race 1 of the weekend complete. A full Sunday of action in store tomorrow on the GT World Network. Looking forward to being back at VIR tomorrow.